August 18th, 2010. It's a terribly hot day, the kind of day that makes your skin stick to your leather chair. Smoke fills my office, and I have no idea why. It only takes a few seconds of investigation to realize that a bird caught on fire in mid-flight and smashed through my window and burned up my ficus. I should probably call a custodian or something to deal with that. But suddenly there's a knock on my door, so I quickly light a cigar with the still burning plant and sit back in my chair, acting as if I've been in this pose for hours with nothing better to do. The door was a creaky old thing. My own name scrawled across the glass plate settled on the front of it. I had put up the name myself, but looking back I probably should have done it sober. As the door opened, soft music suddenly started playing, confusing me at first, but then I realized that it was a woman who had walked into my office. They always had music following them around. It was very strange. A black hat with a large red feather topped her pretty head, and around her neck was a boa. Not a feather boa, but a real boa constrictor. Apparently, she had a thing for reptiles. That was good news for me, at least. I noticed that her eyes shifted around the room quickly in nervousness. I crossed my arms, thinking of why I got all the weird ones. "Okay, babe, why so nervous? Never seen a famous detective before?" After all, Sherlock Holmes had nothing on me, and I had their certificates lined across the wall to prove it. Of course, some were signed in crayon, green, because it matched my wonderful skin tone. She opened her purse and brought out a cigarette that was latched to a long holder. She glanced at the ficus and walked over to it without the slightest hesitation, lit the smoke, and came back to sit on the edge of my desk, crossing her legs and staring me down. A few minutes of silence go by, the crackling of the burning ficus in the background the only thing interrupting the awkward moment. Finally, she took a long drag and breathed out heavily, adding to the smoke in the room. "Well, I see you haven't changed a bit, still staring off into space whenever a pretty girl gets in your sight." I racked my brain trying to recall the dame that sat before me. Unfortunately, my brain wasn't operating at full capacity, so I just took a gamble and said the first name that came to mind. Margaret. I let myself smile, knowing I had gotten it right somehow. That elated feeling disappeared quickly as a horrible scowl swept across her face. "Dolt." The one word cut me in half. "I don't expect you to remember all the faces of the women that you've dated in the past. I understand that," she sarcastically said, taking another drag from her smoke and blowing it right in my face. Soon the babe explained her situation. Her soft lavender eyes made the case for her. It was the classic problem that people always came to me for. They had lost something and wanted me to find it. Usually it's people, sometimes pets, sometimes bowler hats. But she had lost a family fortune, and that interested me. Fly coins, she had said. My smoke-filled office didn't let me register that at first. Fly coins, but then I remembered you never asked details, you just went into it head first. So I found myself in a mansion. She had dropped me off, saying that her family's fly coins had been scattered throughout the mansion and for me to find them. I told her to forget about the coins. I had plenty of fly coins in the small countryside cottage that were just waiting to be found. We could start a new life, take chances, and get messy. It'll be magic. Magic like a school bus. I found myself wondering about her family. Were they stupid? Was there something wrong with them that caused them to scatter fly coins throughout their old mansion? And what was the point of all this? I shook off a foreboding feeling and entered the mansion, my senses on alert. I walked into the foyer and instantly noticed the fly coins. What kind of dumb broad was she that she hadn't noticed these? Why was my help needed? While searching in the parlor, I noticed a symbol on the pool table and went to investigate it further. I found myself shrinking. I blinked, checking the last time I had used. Oh, only an hour ago. Well then, maybe things will make more sense later on. I wasn't sure if this was a dream or if this was a reality, so I ignored the bouncing billiard balls, and I honed in on the paw-shaped pill in the corner pocket. I had no reason to second-guess why it was here. I was just happy to find it. After taking the pill, I was brought back to reality and my search continued. I reached for the nearby telephone, dialing a number I knew all too well. Lifting the receiver to my ear, my friend's voice sounded clearly. Gainfax had been my closest friend for a long time. He always helped in times of need, and this one was no different. After a long search through his memory, Gainfax was able to tell me to turn on TVs to open a painting. It seemed strange, but at this point, with bears wandering the mansion, anything was possible. I probably should worry about the bears, why they were here. I can forgive a lot of things, but as soon as bears start to show up in your house, you know there's something wrong with the family. However, there were crazy hunters too, so everything evened itself out the way that nature does, naturally. The mansion wasn't easy to navigate. It was large and spacious. Like cows on a field, the fly coins at first found easily, but then I had to search harder. All my skills were being put to the test, and I felt like it wasn't even me controlling myself. It was like another force had come along and put the hand of fate on my steps, guiding me perfectly. I soon ended up at a pool. My vision was restricted greatly, annoying me. It was like coming off a blinding drug trip and not being able to know right from left. I struggled to regain my composure. This was the fourth time I had run across Alfred the butler. He seemed to have an omnipresence around the mansion. It disturbed me greatly. It followed me around wherever I went, and just stood in the corner, watching me, like the bears. The bears still concerned me. They're watching me. I attempted to navigate the hedge maze behind the mansion. This would have been confusing even if I had been sober, but the pill's effects on my mind made this small maze turn into a labyrinth that rivaled the ones of Greek mythology. When I reached the end of the maze, I saw a glint of gold. Then I noticed the widescreen TV. I wondered briefly what sort of reception they got out here, but my mind was more focused on whether or not I could nab the trinket in front of me scot-free. Thoughts of the luxuries I could afford if I sold this filled my mind, but I stayed in my hand. I knew I only had a few coins left, and was bound and determined to see it out. It wasn't long before I found the 100th coin, which meant my job was over. I had found every last coin. Immediately, thoughts of the golden prize filled my mind. I could practically see it before my eyes, and I scurried back with determination to claim it. My thoughts went back to the butler as I left, wondering his part in it. But it wasn't really my concern. I suppose it should be, considering I'm the best detective in the world, but at the moment, I didn't really care.